For the record, when I say games you aren't playing, I don't mean everyone, just a specific few. So if you play it, no need to harass me. I believe you. Wow, okay, this game starts getting challenging around the 3rd floor. Alright, that one was my fault. Alright. The pilot sucked anyway. Damn. Damn it. Motherfucker! Alright, so recently I was introduced to a game by the name of Enter The Gungeon, a little indie developed by a studio named Dodge Roll, whose name comes into play a lot in this game, and published by Devolver Digital. Anyways, my boys Nintendo and Akano faded? Okay, we're gonna roll with generic for now. One night I popped on a Skype call with them and Generic was screen sharing this game. I said what's up, they said what's up, and then I was harassed about how great this game was. I was hesitant at first because I wasn't entirely sure what I was looking at. They were telling me to give it a shot since it was only $15 on eShop for the Switch. I didn't purchase it that day, but the very next day. It didn't take too much convincing. They looked like they were having fun and I wanted in. So what the hell is this Enter the Gungeon game I keep running my mouth about? Well, the best way for me to describe it would be a bullet hell dungeon crawler. To explain the basics of it, you pick a character and you explore a gungeon. I don't know if that's more clever or dumb, but that's what it is. You explore, find treasure with weapons or useful items, and fight bosses. On paper, that seems simple, and considering that this is a repeating process, I'm sure one would think that this is a repetitive game and a waste of time, right? You go into the gungeon, get as far as you can, die, rinse and repeat. Why would you or anyone want to bother with this? Well, set that pretty little bottom of yours down and I'll goddamn tell you why. Check this out. See, there's a lot more depth to this game than you might believe. Sure, you repeat the process of exploring and dying, but there's always a feeling of progression when you do this. The dungeon that you enter has multiple floors. Each floor can be explored as much as you want. Since the game is RNG, the floors change up every time you enter a new one. But when I say this, I'm not just talking about the layout, I'm talking about everything that appears on the floor. The inside of the rooms, the enemies, everything. So each time you play, you're in for a different experience for certain. The enemies could be bigger and badder, you may come across a chest with a gun forged by the gods themselves, or a gun forged from your dog's ass. Sometimes while exploring these floors, you may come across characters locked in a cage or something of the sort. Hopefully, once you come across these cells, you have a key to release them. Once you open the cell and talk to the character, they'll thank you, and it's very likely that they'll hang around at the breach for you. It's also likely that some of them will end up serving as shops inside the gungeon, so you aren't limited to just what the shopkeeper has. Another one of the major changes on each floor is the game's bosses. Each one has a different style, design, and fighting style, making them very unique. There's bosses such as the Beholster, which is just a straight gun pun on Eye of the Beholder, the Kill Pillars, which is probably also a pun, but I have no clue on what, the Amoconda, which is hopefully a very obvious one, and the Gatling Gull, which is a straight goddamn bird beastman ripped straight out of f***ing Broforce. Each floor has its own set of 3 different bosses, so in every run you do, it's unlikely but very possible for you to run into the same bosses back to back on one floor. Anyway, once you beat these bosses, they drop this type of currency. Even if you die, you get to keep this currency, no matter what. So where can this currency be spent, you're asking? Well, you remember those people that you've been saving from the cells in the gungeon? Well, when you see them at the breach, some of them will set up shops. What do they do exactly? Well, it depends. Some have new guns that you can find in the gungeon, others have new items that you could come across, and so on. It's a big help. The more you buy from these people, the more likely you are to find new items in the gungeon, and the better the item or weapon, the better your chances of getting farther in. The farther in you go, the harder it's gonna get. So pray that you have some of the good stuff you bought before you get too far in. But to add even more depth, there's also a lot of critical thinking that goes on. There are sometimes rooms that contain other things, such as a box called a muncher that eats your guns and gives you a new one, statues that summon enemies as a challenge and reward you with a chest, and mirrors that have a 50% chance of dropping an item or cursing you. God damn, they don't make this easy, do they? It makes you consider your options. Do you want to risk getting a gun that's worse than the ones you threw in? Is the challenge really worth it when you have like 3 shields? Should you break that mirror and risk getting absolutely nothing? Should you waste money on this fucking key, even though there's a good chance the boss will drop one and just miss out on a potential weapon or special item on the next floor? There's a lot to consider every run. So I'd say that certainly makes up for the repeating process of going in and practically getting kicked the out. But what else does this game have to offer? Sure, the gameplay's mega fun and you only get better and farther the more you play, but what else could drive you? What if I told you there was actually some interesting lore within the game? Don't believe that it's interesting? Well, take a listen to this and tell me otherwise. The game is set on a distant planet inhabited by living bullets and other strange life forms. A gun that could kill the past was placed deep within the grim fortress until a deadly force appeared and tore it down, reducing it to nothing but ashes. The fortress was rebuilt with the highest security measures possible. 4 adventurers, each with their own stories and regrets, decide to enter the fortress and descend into the Gungeon to seek out the legendary gun in order to defeat their pasts. If that didn't tickle someone's pickle at least a smidgen, I'm not sure what will. While it's simple, it's deep. It's interesting, but most of all, it's full of holes that leaves you with questions. Who built this gun? What was its original purpose? Who tore down the fortress and why? Why didn't they get the gun? Things like that. But the biggest questions, and frankly the only ones that we can probably get answers to at this time, are who are these 4 characters and what is it in their past that they want destroyed so badly? Why are they willing to go through all this trouble looking for this gun? Looking at the characters, we have a marine, a pilot, a convict, and a hunter. It feels like we have pretty obvious pasts, but I have yet to kill their past, so I can only guess what they're about. Well, I could Google them, which is very tempting, but... Why didn't I think about that? God, that is tempting. I can only imagine what these characters went through. For example, look at the pilot. What the hell kind of business does a pilot have in a Gungeon? The other ones make the most sense. A marine, probably something war-related. The hunter hunts, for Christ's sakes, but the fact that she is one to begin with alludes to a possible past with whatever she's hunting or running away from. And the convict is still wearing her prison uniform, so I'm positive she wasn't just released into the world as a free woman who decided to go exploring in a dungeon. And if she was, we really need to work on our prison system. So the other occupations, or problems, I guess, add up to why they're here. But a pilot? I'd say that's a pretty damn good job, something you gotta work towards and do a lot of training for. So what the hell kind of past does he have that he needs erased? Maybe he was piloting a plane one day and something happened that caused him to crash the plane, killing a couple hundred people, leaving families devastated. It was something that was out of his control but tragic nonetheless. That would have destroyed his career, so out of options, he fled and went into hiding. During this time, he came across rumors regarding a weapon that could destroy someone's past. Out of options and out of desperation, he stole a plane to fly all over in search of this gun that could supposedly kill somebody's past. Unfortunately, he wasn't the only one with a backstory he wanted obliterated, so it turns out to be a race between him and the others to get that past-destroying gun. This is all just a wild guess though, I could be completely off base. All I know is, the pilot, he goddamn sucks! I could care less about going through the trouble of saving his past if he can't even goddamn aim properly. Now you know whose past is worth destroying? The hunters. Why? Because look at how f***ing cute that dog is. What a good boy! At this point in time, I still have not beaten the game in any way, shape, or form. While there are still apparently 5 floors, I wasn't kidding about that difficulty, so if you get up there yourself, make sure you're well prepared, cause that last boy ain't nothing to be trifled with. Whew, having nightmares just thinking about it. Moral of the story, the game is hella good, and it's very much worth the $15, especially when you get it on Switch, because you can take it with you anywhere, and it's a good time waster if anything. So, that does it for not only the first real upload this year, but also a possible new series. Like what you saw, maybe I'll rant about some more random games that you may or may not have played. Hit that sub button up there for more uploads like this one, and I'll see you all next time.